I became an animal. I knew that I had to survive. I wanted to leave my own legacy. I need to do this on my terms. When there is a desire, burning desire in you, when there is a will, there is a way. This dream will have to come to fruition one way or another. I'm always finding ways to do something new, to step out of my comfort zone, make myself feel uncomfortable. And if it's scary, it's great. I'm on the right path.
Top leaders, meaningful conversation, actionable advice, bulldoze complacency, ignite inspiration, create impact. Produced by the Southwestern family of companies. This is the Action Catalyst.
Today's guest is Liana Zavo, a highly accomplished PR executive, global speaker, Forbes thought leader, and CEO of ZavoMedia PR Group, where she leads a team of dedicated professionals across 12 countries. She is also an author of the book B.E.P.I.C, available now.
Hello, Liana. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Hey, thank you for being here. So, we have come to talk about what I think is going to be an incredibly fascinating topic, especially this day and age. Crisis management, brand management, not wrong or right, but there just definitely seems to be a lot of sensitivity in audiences. Really wanted to start with, can you share a little bit about your super interesting, unique journey to where you are now?
Absolutely. It all started when I was swayed from my goals and dreams and aspirations. As a young girl in high school, I wanted to be just like my grandmother, and she was a journalist in Russia, and so it all started when I heard her stories. She was leaving a legacy behind, and the legacy was tell your stories authentically. And she taught me that in itself. It's the art of storytelling, and I was so blessed to have met her in my life and witnessed that. And when I decided to get into PR, it all was because of her. She taught me the art of communications. She taught me that it is such a beautiful thing to tell other people's stories, to elevate their presence, to inspire audiences. There's so much you can do. And as a college dropout, I decided to drop out of what I was pursuing at the time because I couldn't pursue communications. My parents were not set on that idea because I had to travel a lot and they wanted me to be more conservative and stay back home and, do what a good little Jewish girl should do,
How long have you been in the States?
Since I was 9 years old.
Sorry, I just have to, I bring all this up because I think so much of it speaks to your story, not just as a, strong, powerful female, but also a female with diversity. This isn't your original country. This isn't your original language, even though I'm sure you were taught English from a very young age. But I also think that really speaks a lot to who you are and your story as well.
Well, I speak 5 languages.
Of course you do.
Love languages. And of course, English is something that I was taught from a young age. I think I was just blessed to have that in my family. My parents spoke it, and my mom used to read amazing books. She even named my sister Virginia, living in Russia. Think about that.
Oh my gosh.
My name is Virginia, like the state. You're like, how?
All right. So here you are. You are defying your parents. You're dropping out of college, single mom. Odds are against you in so many ways. What happens next?
I decided to go and pursue what I was really passionate about, and that was styling. I love to style myself. I styled my mom, my dad. My dad would always ask, well, what tie goes with this shirt? My mom, I used to tell her, Mom, do not dress like this. This is not the way you should be dressing in America. She took my, advice. I went shopping with her from a young age. So that was just a hobby, and I loved doing it. And so I said to myself, I dropped out of college. I have a 1-year-old in my arms, and I was about 20. I got divorced at that time as well. So everything just happened within the 3-year span. And I decided to go into personal styling. Not only did I open up my own styling concierge company at the age of 22, but I also did other things on the side. I said, you know what? Maybe I should also go into real estate. Maybe I should also get my Series 6 and 63. There was so much that I did because I knew that the more I have under my belt, because also I have this voice in the back of my mind, you did not graduate, you're a college dropout. Mind you, my mother, former gynecologist, my father, they all have college education. And I was such a great student in high school. Like, I tell you, I had all AP classes. And I was that honor roll student. And then I'm dropping out of college. That's like, it doesn't even sit well with me because I was such a proud student. I loved learning. And I said to myself, I need to self-teach myself. I need to hone in on personal development. I need to learn as much as I can, get as many certificates as possible, because again, I don't want to sabotage myself because thinking that someone will point a finger and say, well, what do you have under your belt? Like, are you even educated? But life taught me so much that I said, I'm not going to be afraid to take this on. And I think that even if I did graduate college, maybe I wouldn't be as a go-getter I am today. I became an animal, a beast in my own respect. I knew that I had to survive. And even though I come from a great family, my family comes from the hospitality industry, but I knew that I don't want to fall back on any of them. I wanted to leave my own legacy. I need to do this on my terms because my son is looking up to me. And I just knew that I had to consume as much information as possible and hire mentors along the way. And I have. I was very fortunate to find amazing mentors that taught me storytelling, business, and leverage, right? I found the art of leveraging. How can I leverage this relationship in order to get to the next level in my career?
How do we get to a PR firm?
When there is a will, there is a way. When there is a desire, burning desire in you, and it's always been in the back of my mind. I always wanted to pursue journalism, communications. I grew up with a grandmother who was a journalist. Now think about that. It was always in the back of my mind, and I knew that this dream will have to come to fruition one way or another. But how do I get there? I need to meet the right people. So every woman that I styled, when I was styling for like high top tier hotels in the city, which is like, I would say St. Regis Hotel, I would go to the Plaza Hotel. These women were high caliber, right? They would come from all over the world or even from New York City. And when I used to get them dressed for charities and galas, I would always ask them, like, so what do you do? Like, it was a conversation, right? We always have to find a way to talk about something that's, well, first of all, it's therapeutic. You wear this dress, you wear that, and it's conversation starts, and that's storytelling. And so one of them, she says, I don't know what you're doing really suits you. And I'm like, the light bulb went just off. I'm like, tell me more. She says, I see you as a visionary, and I think that you should definitely come and consult from my skincare line. So I know that, this hopefully, this is going to go viral. Her name is Marilla Matan, if she's listening to this, and I know that she'll be very proud of me. She encouraged me to step out of my comfort zone. And mind you, I'm always finding ways, as I told you, to do something new, to step out of my comfort zone, make myself feel uncomfortable. And if it's scary, it's great. I'm on the right path. She tells me, I want you to consult, and I want you to take over the line at Bertgift Goodman, and I want you to represent the line. And I'm like, okay, so how does this work? She's like, I will introduce you to my PR agency. They will work with you hand in hand. Don't you worry about it. And at that time, my family was building out a restaurant in New York City on the Upper East Side. So we had the restaurant on 3rd and 60th across the street from Bloomingdale's. Zavo, the name still stands, by the way, if you guys want to pass by. But the restaurant is being built out, and I'm trying to pivot now, right? I'm not trying to say, you know what, the restaurant is going to be there and I'm going to work for my family. That was never in my mind. I said that I will add value to my family's restaurant, and that will be the branding. I will bring on a PR team because they will need a lot of that. We're in a city, right? We need to compete with the big names. And so she introduced me to the PR agency. And before she did that, I went on 5 different interviews to actually inquire about PR. Like, I wanted to work as whatever they would have given me, bringing them coffee. Hey, I'm there. Anything that they would have offered, I would have taken that. But nobody gave me that opportunity. I was rejected from 5 PR agencies, companies like, nope. Do you have any college education? No, I don't, but I can bring you a lot of leverage. Look, I know I have a great network. Your network is your net worth. Trust me, we can find a way. Like, I thought of it differently. Education is great, but it's not the answer to everything. You can be educated and then not a go-getter, lame, boring person, right? And so I had this energy that I was bringing everywhere I went. And so it happened to be that PR agency that Marella introduced me to, we ended up to work together. The very first client that I brought them was my restaurant, my family's restaurant. They did that restaurant, and it was an ultimatum I gave them. Look, I will bring you that very first restaurant, which is my family's. That's your first client from me. But I need to know everything about PR. I got to work with you guys, sit with you, be on every meeting. Like, that's my ultimatum. Do we have an agreement? That's how it all started.
Awesome. Okay. So let's shift ever so slightly. Very cool story, by the way. And I really love how you talk about the art of leveraging. I think people are so afraid to talk about that because it almost sounds like manipulation. But if you're doing it right, it's absolutely not. But let's shift gears slightly and talk about this idea of crisis management. So you get a call, somebody's done or said something that they probably shouldn't have. Where do we go? Walk me through that.
That's the biggest part. And what I have to deal with is, and the way I mitigate the situation is, well, how can we find your voice and authentically change what you have said? The very first thing that comes to mind is make a video and apologize for what you have said, right? The very first thing is you have to take accountability. In a crisis, you can't just shove it under the rug and be like, hey, nobody's gonna pay attention. If you were called out and you knew and you know you messed up, you gotta be accountable. Like, I don't want to get into too much technicality with Blake Lively and what's happening in Hollywood. She's probably going to have to apologize for everything she has done. Okay, so she's having a huge crisis right now. But you'll have to authentically state what has transpired. And that is the number one thing is I always tell my client, don't try to sound like someone else. Because if you're going to try to sound like someone else, you're going to get found out, and find your own voice, right? At the end of the day, if you want to represent who you are, personal brand stems from your authority. And if you cannot claim that authority, then you're not going to be credible, right? How can you be a credible source, a resource, or an expert, a subject matter expert, if you don't take accountability and responsibility for who you are as a personal brand? And the way you should mitigate it is, again, make the video, make a statement, a company release, announcement, press release, and start doing a lot of community service. And that's what I tell my clients. Community service is key. Now, it depends if it's a personal brand versus an organization, right? You will take a different approach because it's a professional brand. It's an organization. We have to take different strategic approach to that. But it all has to be all about accountability. Are you going to be accountable for what you have said? And are you going to step up to the plate? Because everyone makes mistakes. But if you're going to step up to it, then you're going to mitigate it the right way.
When you share this message, what are the biggest pushbacks you get, whether it's from individuals or companies? Where do they exhibit heartburn on wanting to follow this strategy?
Yeah, too much information. It's too, I sign an NDA. I can't release too much information. My attorney said not to talk about it. So I have to then go in and speak to the attorney and find a way to get that message across. Because if they already signed an agreement with the other company, for example, and they have an NDA in place and they can't release information, like, you know what? Well, we'll just have to wait and have the attorney take care of it. Well, the attorney will take as long as he can, sometimes prolonging it even more than he has to or she has to. And so we can't afford that. That time is so precious. We have to act now. So I always tell them it's going to be detrimental, like, for you to step up and say your side of your story. You need to control the narrative. If you're not going to control the narrative, someone else will. Another journalist will come about, and literally they're going to change the whole story, and it's not going to be in your favor. So who's going to do the work? No one but you. Start speaking the truth and tell your side of the story.
Okay, a couple things I just want to repeat back. A couple things I've heard again. Accountability, super important. Timeliness, controlling the narrative. What do you see people do that are mistakes when it comes to crisis management?
The number one mistake is to wait. The biggest thing is, I'm going to wait. I'm going to let this kind of air through. Like, they don't want to just air this out on its own. It's not going to happen on its own. So, and kind of waiting for their attorney, again, for that legal team to give them approval. So you can't be a slave to the legal team, because your personal brand will suffer. So if you're not going to, again, step it up, then the longer you wait, the longer it's going to be a problem. That's the biggest thing.
How do you talk folks off the ledge a little bit? I mean, I would imagine whether you've said something that harms your personal brand or you're representing your company, people must go into just a flurry of panic. How do you get them to step away from panic and start getting back to rational and thoughtful?
Yeah, I love that question, even though I think they should seek a therapist. And I'm not a therapist, but I have to do a lot. As a publicist and a strategist, I have to take a lot under, it is a lot of undertaking. So I have to make sure that they're calm and collected. And the way to do it is to have them write it out. Can you just write out what, in the hypothetical world, what is the ideal world you want to be living in, right? So if they write it down, it's like journaling, right? Journaling is the best way to calm yourself down, right? So journaling, getting their action steps and implemented strategically, what to say, what not to say, what is your unique value proposition? So journaling has helped scripting. Script it out. Tell me exactly how you want to be positioned and just get it out. That's the best way. It's very therapeutic. I think that when they're in a frenzy and they're very kind of panicking, they need to collect their thoughts, right? Breathing exercises, meditate, do something. But the very first thing is get it on paper. Let me know what your thoughts are.
Shifting gears ever so slightly, talk a little bit about branding and reputation. First of all, how would you distinguish the two, brand versus reputation, or are they the same? Walk me through that.
They definitely go hand in hand. Not the same, but they go hand in hand. What people say about you when you leave the room is your brand, which is your reputation. Your brand creates your reputation. If you don't have that brand, the brand should be speaking before you even knock on the door, right? If you have an amazing brand, then it should speak volumes, and that will help you get in the door. That's why I always tell my clients, let me Google you before we start working. Let me see what shows up. Let's take a look at your online reputation. What shows up when I Google you? Oh, I have amazing, I'm all over social media, but social media does not give you the reputation. It gives you some sort of visibility, which is great, but it doesn't give you that credibility source. The credibility adds to your reputation. The credibility adds to your branding. Where is that credibility coming from? Is there a third party that validated your story? Are you featured in an exclusive interview? Have you spoken to a journalist and perhaps, as a thought leader, did you give any insights? Those are the things that create a very strong brand, a personal brand, professional brand that creates your reputation. If you've never spoken anywhere, if people are not eager to hear from you as a thought leader, do you really have a reputation? But if you always ask, hey, I want you to speak on my stage, come to my panel, do a keynote, because they looked you up, they know that you have credibility, your reputation is there, and you will, again, it's leverage, right? If you have that, you bring leverage to their company. How should you be positioned as a thought leader? The positioning is so crucial, right? If you are not positioned in a certain way, people don't look at you in a credible way. You don't have the reputation. So that adds to the credibility of their organization.
So meaty. You just said so many really, really cool things. I want to highlight a couple because I think a common thing that we hear is when people are trying to create a brand, it's all about social media, social media, social media. But what you just said there is so next level thought, and that social media is visibility, but not credibility. So you have to have it. People want to know that you're there, but it doesn't do anything just by simply existing. So you've got to take it one step further to have the visibility, then the credibility, then the brand and the reputation follow.
100%, Stephanie, you got it. Yes, exactly.
So let's say I'm a business owner or a leader in a larger organization. Just educate me a smidge on, how could a PR firm really impact my business?
In so many ways. I'll give you an example. So I'm working with this nonprofit organization. First of all, before they even hired me, they never thought about PR. PR, they think, oh, PR is for celebrities, but corporate PR is very important. So when they hired me, they knew that, first of all, they understood the concept of what I can do for them. It brings them that elevated presence. Now they're looking for investors. They're looking for donors. Nonprofit organization needs all of that. Donors is what they thrive on. Sponsorships. How do they get those donors and sponsors to trust them? Now, this is a huge trust factor that PR creates for them. So in order for them to be trusted, they will be Googled, right? And so I create that trust factor with press releases, exclusive articles that adds to their portfolio as to why these donors should even have anything to do with them. Another thing is strategic partnerships. What partnerships can a PR team create for this organization, a nonprofit? Who do we know that we can align you with so that you can get the leverage you need, so you can get the best outcome, right? You need the strategic partnership. So events, right? PR creates events. So you can't just be an organization and not have events. There has to be a buzz. What is that buzz around your organization, around your company? Say that you're a medical facility, a med spa. How do people find out more about you? Well, you know what? You should create different tier events that will take place with these amazing panels that come and speak about the benefits, in that space, right? So doctors, whoever is, so medical facility has their own events, legal industry has their own events. Events is another part, is a crucial part of PR.
Are there any industries that you specifically tailor to?
Corporate industry. So I work with finance, legal, medical professionals, real estate developer.
You also have another book, B.E.P.I.C?
I do. B.E.P.I.C.
Tell me about that.
Well, the B.E.P.I.C came out in 21. I'm actually working on my second book right now. So the B.E.P.I.C method is a one-word acronym. So when I created this concept, I knew that in order for you to step out of your comfort zone, to really hone in into your storytelling, into creating a strong personal brand, you need to conquer your mindset. That mindset is so important because, again, I can't speak in front of the camera. I'm afraid to be judged. Liana, I can't do this. My message is not going to come across. I mean, everyone else is talking about the same thing. You think my message matters? But then I teach them, look, you're the messenger, right? And the messenger delivers the message in a different way. So it's that mindset I teach them. So it's the B stands for belief. The belief you can do it, right? And it all helped. When I started this book, I actually was already on my third round of reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I love that book. I was so fascinated by his story that I made my son read it and my family members read it. And then I read his second book, which was Outwitting the Devil. The immense knowledge that I got from that book. And I said, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to help them conquer that mindset in order for them to get out of their comfort zone, not to sabotage themselves, how to get media opportunities. How can you do it on your own if you don't want to hire a publicist, but it's going to take much longer, obviously, right? A publicist helps expedite. A publicist helps you. But I also teach them how you can do it on your own. So that B.E.P.I.C book teaches you how to gain authority, find your voice, how to be seen, how to become an executive, how to take the stage, how not to be afraid to take the stage. I travel to all over the world. I'm in 12 countries. So not only am I in the American market, but what I love to do is I bridge the gap for founders internationally who want to be featured in the American market. I think it's so important to give them that credibility and visibility. A lot of them want that. I spoke to a strategic partner. He wanted to work with me, and I Googled him. He's based in Greece. I'm like, you don't have a Google presence. He's like, you know what? Why is everybody in America? Why do they care about the Google presence? I'm like, because that's your authority. I'm like, buddy, if you want to work with me, we need to work on your online reputation. Otherwise, I can't work with you because this is what I preach. And if I'm working with you and it's just not going to work, it's not aligned with me. So if you want me to work with you, I got to first create that amazing online reputation for you.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. You have been super generous with your time. Is there anything else that you want to make sure we talk about or address?
I would say just make sure you are surrounded by amazing people. What I attribute my success to is being in proximity with successful people that have done greater than me. I think that really propels me forward in everything that I do. And I'm just like a sponge. I learn because I know that everything is just evolving so fast with AI, with so many new technologies coming on board. If you're not being in proximity with people that know about the subject, then you're going to fall behind, right? You don't want to be that statistic that, oh, you didn't get on trend with everything else that's happening. So you need to be, if you want to be successful, you have to learn the logistics. You need to develop that within you. And if you can, then hire someone who can teach you.
I love it. Thank you so much. It has been such a delight to meet you.
Yeah, amazing. It was great. Thank you, Stephanie.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. And to stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast and on Twitter at Catalyst_Action. And as always, thanks for listening.